It's already been a month since Square Enix showed off a first look at what's been dubbed Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. And now that the dust has settled, that first look has been followed up by a full suite of interviews that were conducted with members of the Japanese press, including Famitsu, Dengeki, 4Gamer, and Gamer. A similar approach was taken with Final Fantasy XVI, as that also saw a few weeks pass between the re-reveal and interviews being published. But unlike in those interviews, where Naoki Yoshida, the producer of Final Fantasy XVI, revealed significant details about the narrative and what we might expect to see with gameplay, Yoshinori Kitase and Tetsuya Nomura were a bit more guarded when speaking about Rebirth. That's not to say some crucial details were not revealed, however, as they both spoke a lot about the narrative, reconfirmed some previous details, and discussed the general scope of the project, while also talking about how things have been evolving behind the scenes. And that's perhaps the best place to start. Alongside the Final Fantasy VII Rebirth reveal, Tetsuya Nomura released a statement on social media confirming that it would be releasing as the second game within a planned trilogy. But it's now been confirmed via Nomura's interview with 4Gamer that there were serious considerations placed around having the series conclude with Rebirth, and that their indecision even led to them delaying the announcement of the game. The topic of how many parts the Final Fantasy VII Remake project will consist of has been doing the rounds ever since the whole multi-part series phrase was first muttered by Kitase back in 2015, and it came up again after the release of the first part due to how much of the story had been covered. But it was also intriguing for financial analysts. Based on estimations about how much the Final Fantasy VII Remake had cost to develop and then market, analysts were unconvinced that the game had made enough of a profit for Square Enix to be able to draw the series out due to the potential for diminishing returns. And it led to Atol Goyal, the managing director at an investment bank called Jefferies & Company, informing potential investors in Square Enix that he believed it would be prudent for the next part to be the last part, as it would mitigate financial risk. According to Nomura, no doubt because of the need to mitigate financial risk, Kitase had actually asked him to explore how they could wrap the story up within 2 parts, as opposed to 3. And with there being no concrete plan as to which approach they would take, even after the release of Remake, as they were still uncertain about costs and profit margins, it was something that Nomura explored with real gusto, even if he also had a genuine concern that to do this, the second part would need to be extremely large and inefficient in comparison to the first part, and its subsequent release would take much, much longer. Fortunately, after production commenced on Rebirth, due to the efficiency of the development team, which saw them make a significant amount of progress within a relatively short period of time, Kitase decided that creating 3 games would be financially viable, and plans were adjusted accordingly to accommodate for this shift in approach. Kitase also shared that one of the reasons they've been able to make such progress so quickly is that they changed their development mindset in comparison to how they would have typically operated. For example, instead of going straight from Remake to work on Rebirth, the team took a slight break from the project. It saw some members shift over to working on the PC version, while others worked on Intergrade and Intermission. It was only once these projects were completed that full production then started on Rebirth, and one of the other main benefits was that because the PC version and Intergrade were worked on by the same teams, very few members of the Remake team ended up being reassigned to other projects within the company. The consequence is that the primary team working on Rebirth is almost identical to the primary team that worked on Remake, and this means they are way more efficient, as not only